Hey there, everyone. Grill Father Johnny L. And today we are going to smoke a Cornish game hen on the rotisserie. One of my favorite tools to use. You will not want to miss it. If you are stopping by the channel for the first time today, we want to give you a giant Texas North Barbecue and Griddle welcome. Hey, Texas North Barbecue and Griddle is open. Let's go inside and get the Cornish game hen prepared and get them on the rotisserie.
We are live from my backyard where I am smoking these meat like a brisket. I'm making meats now. Someone asked me, do I smoke meat? That's gonna be delicious. Yeah, I smoke meat, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So here's our Cornish game hen. We will get him out of his packaging and pat dried before we get him ready. But just wanted to take a moment to speak about Cornish game hens and a little bit about rotisserie as well. So a Cornish game hen is a cross between Cornish and Plymouth Rock chicken. It's no more really than a young chicken. It's slaughtered within the first several weeks of life, and they're usually no more than 2 pounds in weight, and their skin is much thinner than the more mature chickens. So, and what you will end up with in the final product is a very moist and tender bird. Now, in terms of rotisserie started back in the medieval period, and some people call it spit roasting. You can call it whatever you want. I call it rotisserie. But the way it started was you had a spit boy or spit jack, as I like to call him, and he would go to the area where the meat was on the spit, and he would manually crank the spit so that the chicken would, or the bird or whatever was on there, would evenly cook. And then as time went on, they were able to move to more of a mechanical setup where they had a dog actually on a special treadmill, and the dog would walk on the treadmill and turn the spit. And then obviously today's modern day rotisseries are mechanically powered by electricity. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of its packaging, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. Now we have the bird all dried up, and the first thing that we want to do is truss it. And basically that's just taking a piece of butcher string and tying the bird up so that when it is spinning on the rotisserie, you won't have the legs and the wings flapping all over the place as it turns around, as you can see it is as it is right now. So basically we're going to tie this bird up and make it nice and compact to the body of the chicken, and then we'll get into getting it all seasoned up. So we go cross over here once, and then on the outside we will bring the legs in and make them nice and tight. Go down through the breasts here on either side, then flip it over, and then we will get these wings intact here too, and then we'll tie it off. We go one, and then we will tie it again here to make sure it's super tight, and then cut off the excess. I didn't use more than 3 feet of string. So there you see, we got it nice and compact. So now what I want to do is put this on the spit, and this will just help make the rest of this prep a little bit easier. So I will slide it through, and I'll bring this bowl into play here, as it will help. I'm just going to move this string back in place there. And we will put the other side in here. And we'll get them into place. And then what this will do is this will just help keep things in place while I continue on getting the rub and the binder on. So first thing I'm going to do is use a binder, and I use duck fat. That's my binder of choice. You can use whatever you want. A lot of people use olive oil, but I just like using the duck fat. It has a little more of a healthy benefit to it. And in order to get this skin nice and crispy and golden, which is the way I like it, we're going to use a combination of baking powder and kosher salt. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. And we're not going to need all of that. It's a small bird here, but enough just to help with the crisping up of the skin. And I don't know about you, but that's my favorite part of chicken and turkey is the skin. So we don't want to put a whole lot on, but just enough to help with that process, and we don't want the bird to be too salty. So I think that's good there. And next I am going to put on an all-purpose rub. This is a homemade rub, and just I don't want to put a whole lot on. I want to just help get that golden color. So, and add a little bit to the flavor profile as well. So not a whole lot, but we'll just give it a nice light dusting here. And again, you can see how putting this on the spit and on top of this bowl really makes life a lot easier when you're trying to season up the bird. And that's really it for now. What I do is put this in the refrigerator uncovered overnight, and we will let the seasoning and the rub settle in. And then tomorrow we will get this on the spit and get it roasting. We'll see you then. So it's the next day. The smoker's ready to go. The bird is itching to get on a rotisserie. But before we go there, I just want to talk about a couple of things that I normally talk about in my other videos. First, I want to talk about what I call the 4 T's for successful barbecuing. And they are taste, tenderness, texture, and the most important T of all, technique. And if you don't get the technique right, then there's a good chance that one or more of the other 3 T's, the taste, tenderness, and texture, maybe all 3 of them might suffer because you don't get that technique right. So technique is very important. Now you might say, well, what about the T of temperature? Temperature is important, both the ambient temperature outside and in the smoking chamber, as well as the internal temperature. But in my mind, temperature rolls up under the T of technique. Secondly, we always have to have a game plan in life, no matter what we're doing. And I want to go over my game plan with you. We did a little bit of it yesterday in terms of the preparation, but what I use to help keep me focused and on track is I have a cook log, and it's basically a 3-ring binder that has sheets for all of my different cooks. And it just helps me to stay on track and stay focused from start to finish, especially if there's a lot going on, like spritzing and the changing of wood, and just keeping track of temperatures and when was the last time I did this or did that. And each cook has its own sheet. And what I'm going to do now is go over this particular cook's sheet. And really, when we're done with the cook, I will put the sheet in its proper home inside the cook log so that when I go to do Cornish Game Hen again on the rotisserie, maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, I'm not going to remember everything that I did today, what the weather conditions were, and so forth. So I can just open up to its home here in the cook log, pull out that sheet, see what I did, and don't have to recall from memory anything that I did today. So let's go ahead and get an in-depth look of what our cook's going to be looking like today. So on the sheet, you can see I have a number of things in the left column here that I want to keep track of, not necessarily all of them because they don't always apply to each and every cook. And then over here on the right is where I do my recording. And so for today, we're using the Pit Boss smoker, and we are doing a rotisserie Cornish game hen that is 1.7 pounds in weight. Purchased it from Kroger and it was frozen. The rub that I used was the baking powder and kosher salt combination for the skin. And then we hit it with a dusting of that all-purpose rub. And that's all being held on by the duck fat binder. We're going to be going with post oak today, and with a little help of the smoke box, not smoke tube, smoke box. And in terms of what's going on in the cooking chamber, we're going to start out at 225 degrees to get some nice smoky flavor going. We'll go there for a while, maybe an hour or so. We'll just see how things are going. Then we will crank it up to 350 to 375 so that we can really focus on getting that nice crispy golden skin. And ultimately, we want to get to 165 degrees internal temperature. And then when we take it off, we will rest it. We'll keep track of the rest time and also what our weather conditions were today. That's it in terms of the game plan. The smoker is up to temperature, so the last thing we need to do before we put the meat on is to get our smoker box fired up. And this is the smoker box here. This is a Diamond King smoker. It's a 6-inch by 12-inch size. It comes in a 6x6 as well. This is a game changer when it comes to pellet grills. This smoke box is going to give you stick burner, offset smoker type quality of smoke. And the way it works is you have this stainless steel smoker box. Inside I have an airflow cage with some fire starters. Then I have some lump charcoal in there. I'm going to fire this up. And we're going to let this lump charcoal ignite. Let it ash over just a little bit. Then we're going to come back and we're going to put our post oak mini split on. So we'll give this just a few minutes. Nice fire is going now. The lump charcoal is ashing over. So let's go ahead and put on our post oak mini split. And I get these at Woodchuck Firewood. Andy is the person that runs that company, and he can get you any kind of wood. I just like to use the post oak. You can see I have a nice mini split here. We'll go ahead and put this on. Let it catch. I'm just going to give it a little jump start with the torch here as well. And I promise you, when this goes into the smoker, you're going to see some beautiful post oak smoke generating. Again, this is a game changer for pellet grills. I highly recommend you spend the $50 to get yourself a smoker box. It does take up a little bit of room, but if you're only smoking one meat at a time, which is what I do, then it's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and let this catch, and then we'll get over to the smoker. We got some nice smoke rolling, and inside the chamber, the smoke box giving off some nice smoke. We have the chicken on the spit, and all we need to do is turn on the motor, and we'll get this thing rolling. We're going to go 225 here for a while, and then we will crank it up to take care of the skin and also be basting the skin with some spray butter as well, some spray butter. Check in with you later. We're 45 minutes in, and I'm registering a temperature of about 113 degrees. I am going to crank this temperature up to 350, and I'm also going to start spritzing it here with my spray butter. And the beauty of the rotisserie is that I can give this a nice, even coating of the butter, which was going to really help with the crisping of the skin as well. And it turns nicely, and I can hit all parts of the chicken along the way. The meat probe went off for 165, so we got a nice internal temperature, and you can see how nice that skin has turned out. It's really a nice golden brown, and didn't have any burning going on. So what we're going to do is take this off the spit, and we were going to loosely tin it for about 15 minutes inside, and then we will finish up in there. We'll see you there. So the bird rested for 15 minutes, and let's go ahead and untent this, and we will get it taken off of the spit. Just unloosen these. Sometimes these get a little stuck in there just from the heat. So there we go. Take this side out and this side out, and then remove the spit. Now, the only other thing there to do is to cut the butcher string, because no one wants to eat that, right? Unwrap it from all sides. And there is your final product. And I'm pretty happy with the way the skin really turned out nicely with the butter and that baking powder and kosher salt combination. And hopefully you can see from the cutting board here how juicy this is. And this bird's going to be juicy no matter what, because it's just younger in age, and so it's pretty hard to mess it up in terms of having it moist and tender and juicy. So we will go ahead and get this cut up. So I have a nice sharp knife, and we will go ahead and deconstruct this. I think that really it will kind of deconstruct itself here. Just pull away nicely. Go ahead and take the legs off here. There's one. There's two, and take these wings off. Now, quite honestly, you don't need to do that, all this on a chicken like this, because you can sit there and cut that one off and just pick at it and eat it right off of the carcass. So they're really, in normal cases, wouldn't even bother taking this apart and just eat it like it is. Now I'm just going to leave the breasts intact there. We got most of it apart, and you can see that it really turned out nice and juicy. The skin is nice and gold and crispy. So I will be back for a few closing comments. So this was a really fast cook. It only took about an hour and 15 minutes, and then a 15-minute rest on top of it. So start to finish, 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we took a 1.7 pound bird up to 165 degrees internal temperature. And as you know from watching my other videos, I don't do taste tests on camera because I can't offer you a bite or a piece to eat. So I'm not going to eat in front of you. But I did have some off camera. Very happy with the taste, the tenderness, the texture, and how moist it was. So extremely happy with it. So I hope this video was helpful to you today. And if you apply the technique that I used from beginning to end, I think that you will end up with very good results for your Cornish game hen as well. And when you go to do your taste test on your bird, you're going to say, this is forget about it good. So no taste tests on camera, but I am going to give this the Grill Father Johnny L stamp of approval. Hey friends, thanks for stopping by the channel today. Hope you found this video useful and helpful. Would you do me a favor of hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as well as sharing this video with a family member or friend? Till next time, this is Grill Father Johnny L. Take care, God bless, and smoke on.